Blended learning, a primer. The big question, what is blended learning? I'll try to answer this simply, but as thoroughly as possible. Blended learning is simply blending the best teacher practices with the best that the internet has to offer. All blended learning classrooms have some level of student control over the following four things. Number one, time. Number two, place. Number three, path. And number four, pace. When people talk about blended learning, most likely they're referring to one of the three models of blended learning. These three models are one, flipped, number two, lab rotation, and finally, number three, station rotation. Now, personally, I found the greatest results in both student satisfaction and outcomes by using the station rotation model, so if my bias is too transparent, you'll understand why. To better understand these models, let's take a few minutes and talk about each one of these. The flipped blended learning model. The main idea of a flipped blended approach is to have students do all of the reading and individual work outside of school. The goal is to have them ready to handle more complex ideas when they're back in your classroom. Now, the greatest benefit of a flipped classroom is that class time is dedicated to expanding on readings and homework. The first time a student's introduced to a topic or idea is in the homework assignment. Unlike a traditional classroom, homework is not used to reinforce what the teacher has already presented during class time. It's used to introduce the ideas. This type of approach is most appropriate for a group of highly motivated students, possibly advanced placement students. Now, there are some drawbacks to a flipped approach. The flipped approach adds quite a bit of study time for students, and now with the combination of jobs, school activities, and family responsibilities, this is not a realistic approach for most students. There's no guarantee that students will be prepared for class. Now, what would a teacher do with an unprepared class? Most likely, the teacher would fall back on traditional methods and deliver the instruction directly. There is no individual pace. This approach is still paced by the teacher. The lab rotation blended learning model. The main idea is to have a large number of students, possibly 55 to 70, working by themselves in a large computer lab. There would be at least one teacher in the lab and possibly a teacher assistant. The teacher would roam through the room and help students when they have a question. Now, there are some benefits to the lab rotation model. Number one, it can be less expensive for schools because of the high student to teacher ratio. Students can work at their own pace. Classwork is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Students are required to demonstrate competency before moving on to the next lesson, and students have to take ownership for their learning. Now, some drawbacks, it does have a factory-like feeling just cranking out students. Students do get very little teacher interaction, and students get almost zero peer-to-peer interaction. The station rotation blended learning model. The main idea is to create a class environment where the bulk of direct instruction is delivered via the web while giving students the opportunity to have positive interactions with peers and the teacher. The classroom will have up to 3 different stations that the students rotate through. The first station is on the computers, and that's for direct instruction. The second station is for small group activities, and the third station is led by the teacher who's providing small group instruction and clarification. There are several benefits. Both the students and the teacher have more opportunities for positive interactions with one another. Students can work at their own pace. Through the use of teacher-led discussion, peer group work, online discussions, all students will have the opportunity to share their ideas and contribute to the class. All work's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Students are required to demonstrate competency before moving on to the next lesson. And also students are required to become active participants and take ownership for their learning. Now, some drawbacks is the creation of digital lessons can be time consuming, at least initially. Students do need time to adjust to the expectations of group work and to ensure that time is used productively. And without effective leadership from the teacher, the classroom could get chaotic and disruptive for students. You've demonstrated you have an interest in providing a more effective educational experience for your students by the simple fact that you watch this brief presentation. It's my hope that you'll now evaluate your situation, the needs of your students, the available computer or mobile devices for use, and the internet connection capabilities in order to choose the best approach for you as an instructor and the needs of your students.